Fatherhood isn't easy, but in Autismland, it's a journey like no other. Join Mark DeGrasse as we explore the highs, lows, and everything in between of raising children on the autism spectrum. With real stories, practical advice, and a touch of humor, we're here to navigate this unique journey together. For dads navigating life on the autism spectrum, you're not alone.
So everyone, I'm Mark DeGrasse. You're listening to the Dads and Autismland podcast, where we explore the lives of dads with some honest discord on what it's like to be an autism dad and what special needs families kind of go through, but also just connect the dads. A lot of us just don't talk enough. And just from having this, initial conversation with Steve here before we got on the call, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this podcast. Steve Levine is our guest. His son, Nathan, is 35 years old and is nonverbal autistic, similar to my son. And he has lots of good stories. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Mark. As I thought about it when I first heard about what you're doing, I said, I've lived in Autismland for 30 years. And it is an amazing, strange, wonderful, terrible, possible, who knows what, and hilarious land. I think, like so many others, given the opportunity, I'd never change it. It's my son, it's the way he is. And the experiences that we've had over the years could fill a book. But I'm hoping that at least some of the things you and I can talk about today will either be instructive to other dads or uplifting, or at least help everybody laugh and realize that, we have an interesting challenge in our life, but there's ways through it, and hopefully laughter is one of them.
I love that. Well, and I love how you said you wouldn't change anything, because I've thought about that too. Like, I think the initial years it was kind of like, is he going to be normal? Like, will he have a normal life? Will he, grow up and move out and do all that kind of stuff? I think as the years gone by, it's like, oh no, probably not. But that's fine too, and it's just a different way to live. And like you said, you want to change it for the world. So why don't we start with just kind of your, kind of the initial, discovery phase? Like, well, when did you know that Nathan was a little bit different from other kids?
Well, Nathan had a serious seizure disorder when he was about 6 months old. And so he had, 0 to 6 months, he was doing whatever it was he was supposed to do. I don't even remember what the milestones are at that point. But for the next 2.5, 3 years, as we struggled to get the seizures under control, and it was a rare form of seizures, took him to doctors in Austin, in Houston, in Pittsburgh, to finally get those seizures under control. He was about 3, a little bit more than that. And so by that point, he hadn't learned to talk. There were so many social things that he just didn't do quite right. His gross motor skills were on track. And we were always proud because he took his first step on his first birthday, which is when kids are supposed to do it. It was like, wow, this kid did something normal. I hate the word normal, but that's the way it felt. We said, okay, we've got the seizures under control. Hopefully he'll be able to catch up. And what I've told this story so many times is, he never caught up, but he always moved forward. He always made progress in his own way and on his own time scale. So he spent about 2 years in an early childhood program at the public schools here. And this was in the early 90s. And they'd never seen a kid like him. The other kids who were in the early childhood program, there were, I think, 3 or 4 others who had speech impediments. There were 1 or 2 with some physical disabilities, a couple kids with CP, but they'd never encountered, and one young man with Down syndrome, but they'd never encountered somebody like Nathan. They didn't know what to do with him. They didn't know how to teach him. And he was a whirlwind in the classroom. He'd just like walk around and, take his arm and just clear the table off, no matter what anybody was doing. And towards he was 2 years in early childhood, and he was kindergarten. And it was basically a regular teacher, and the early childhood teacher also spent time there. About halfway through his kindergarten year, somebody said, this kid looks like somebody with autism. This is 1994, 95. I said, what's autism? You know? And so a couple months of testing and psychological testing, and of course how a person who is nonverbal, who can't read or write and is terrible at following directions gets tested, I don't know. um but the school came back and said, look, we think we can put this label on them. I said, do we want a label? Mm. And as much as that concept was bothersome to us, we said this is good for two reasons. First of all, if this is true, or if it's close to true, we might have a way to figure out how to teach it, right? I mean, they didn't know what was going on. We weren't getting anywhere. So at least, we could say, okay, how do you teach people with autism, right? And then second of all, anybody who lives in Texas and has a child receiving special ed services knows with the autism diagnosis, you get a little bit extra. You get some summer services. There's certain guarantees that those children have. And it's supposed to make life in the school district easier. I'm not going to go into our battles with the school. So, in a sense, I mean, if you ask about the discovery phase, I mean, the blowaway part was when he was 6 months old, 10 months old, having these seizures that we didn't know what was going on. I remember we came away from a clinic visit in Houston, and the doctor basically said, okay, here's the kind of seizures he has. Why don't you just take him to an institution? And we cried all the way home. And so that was the discovery phase. It really wasn't the autism part. The autism part was really, I think, positive, like I said, in the sense of at least now we know where to go. Now we've got a strategy or something to try. So that's the way that came out.
Oh, okay. That's the harrowing journey. I think that's a lot of people don't realize is those initial years of like just what is it? What's going to happen? What should we do? School issues. We went through the same thing with our school district at the time before we found an autism center that he's been for years now. But yeah, it's a huge journey. So well done though. It sounds like you navigated it, very well, and we're moving forward. So let's kind of touch on, daily life. Some of the funnier things, because a lot of people think, it's funny because everybody has stories about their kids, but our stories, I don't think end when they turn like 6 or 7 or 8. It's like, it just continues on. So I always just mention some of the funnier things that you have to deal with.
It's just a couple of things that I want to mention, and they are, they're frustrating at the moment, but and they're funny when you think back about it, or when you tell the tale. So there's a couple things I want to touch on, just because hopefully other people can either get a kick out of them or see their child in it. I think one of the best ones is Nathan loves to listen to music, and he's able to use his CD player and take CDs in and out, and punch to the track he wants, and punch to the part of the track he wants, and listen to that part of the track over and over and over again. And while he's doing that, it's basically a piece of a toy that he's had forever, just a round yellow ring, plastic ring. And he hits it against his leg like someone would a tambourine. And he won't listen to music without it. And the place where he puts it is in the trash can in his room. And that's really usually the only thing that's there, except maybe sometimes his glasses went in there. And so one day we were fortunate enough to have a cleaning crew come in and actually do some good cleaning in the house. Just trying to get that kind of stuff done sometimes is impossible. And we didn't tell them not to dump that trash can. And so, an hour or so after they left, Nathan came home. I don't know if he was at school at the time or at work. I don't remember exactly when it was. And he went in his room to listen to music, and he reached in his trash can and there's nothing there. And we're like, where's your yellow toy, Nathan? And of course he didn't know where it was. And so we called the people who'd done the cleaning, and we said, did you collect all the trash, and where did you put it? Hoping that they put it in the trash can outside the garage. They said, oh yeah, we did. And we have this site. It's about 10 miles away. It's where construction people put their trash. And they gave me the address. I'm like, okay, what am I going to look for? How's this going to work? They said, well, it's all in a brown paper bag. And when we put it in, there wasn't any other trash in the dumpster. So I drove out this long country road and into this land that had like 4 or 5 dumpsters in it. And there was one person kind of off to the side doing some drilling somewhere. And so I walked along and looked, and 2 of them were just full to capacity. I'm like, please, please tell me that wasn't was. And then I came to this one, and it was a big dumpster, 10 by 12, maybe, 8 feet tall walls. And I climb up on the ladder and look down, and it is entirely empty, except right in the middle of it is a brown paper bag. So I'm like, okay, I think that's the pot of gold. I've got to get it. And so I climbed up the ladder on the outside and kind of swung it over and slowly let myself down this smooth steel wall on the inside. Went over, opened the bag, and there wasn't a whole lot of trash in there, but one of the things was that yellow toy. Success. I turn around and I'm inside basically an 8-foot steel slippery room. And it's like, how am I going to get back out of here? I'm, in my late 50s. I do not have the strength to reach up to the top and pull myself out. I mean, I couldn't do that. I'm not an action hero. And I'm like, am I going to die here? Has this been my last, my last and best thing that I've ever done for my son? And fortunately, somebody who's had something to do with the place. He didn't speak English, but he kind of wandered over, wondering what somebody was doing in one of his dumpsters. And in my broken Spanish and his poor English, we managed to communicate the fact that I needed help getting out. And he brought a ladder over and brought it in, and I climbed out, and brought it home. And I felt like the hero, but it was like in every hero story, there's that point where the hero has failed.
Well, you know what? That happens sometimes. But the fact that you went to that amount of effort, and I would say, I wouldn't even think about not doing that. I'd be like, yeah, whatever it takes, we're gonna get that thing, because who knows, what it's gonna lead to if we don't, and you'd have to redo a whole bunch of stuff. But
Music is so important to Nathan, and this is just a necessary accompaniment, and it's something. You're right. I don't know what in the world would have happened without it, but I didn't quite expect the journey that I went on. But it's just one of them things.
Well, I know you mentioned too that you don't like, I mean, not like, but it kind of bothers you when people are like, you're just such an amazing dad just for doing dad type stuff. And I'm pretty oblivious to people around me, so I don't think I have to deal with it as much. But you kind of explain that, where people are, just praise you just for being a dad.
Yeah, it's happened, several times over the years, and I don't need an award, I don't need a badge, but I do a lot of things with my son. Okay, I mean he's 35 now, and as I said, he loves music. And in Austin, Texas, that means there is live music that you can enjoy in so many different ways. And Nathan absolutely loves live music. I mean, you walk in, Antone's is a place where we've gone, maybe 40, 50 times. And there's a couple other clubs around the city. And I could tell you some crazy music stories at some point. But, we'll go and we'll find a band that I like and that he likes. And when he's there, the joy that you can see, and he's jumping up and down and clapping. And if we're close enough to the stage, the musicians are enjoying it and they're having a good time. And several times at Antone's, and then other times just sitting in a restaurant, one-on-one, having lunch or dinner with my son. People will come up to me and say, "Is that your son?" I say, "Yeah." They say, "You're such a great dad." And I'm like, "Thank you, but screw that." It's like, I do things with my other children too. Nathan is our middle child. He's got an older sister and a younger brother. And, little brother and I go to music festivals, and we still do. I'm in my 60s and he's in his 30s. We try to go to a music festival every year. And because that's what we like to do. And that's a way for a father and son to do things together. I mean, I know guys who go hunting with their dads all the time, or rock climbing, or whatever it is, because that's what they like to do, and that's what their kids like to do. And as different as Nathan is from his brother and sister, as different as he is from typical people, he's still my son. And these are the things he likes to do. And as a dad, these are the things that I like to do with him. And it's not special. When he was younger, we had a hearing over his school plan, and there was it was very, very stressful time. And the lawyer who was helping us had me as, you know, uh, basically on the witness stand, so to speak. And at the end of me describing, whatever was going on, it's a complicated story. I can't go into the details of it. But at the end, he looks at me, he says, "What do you want for your son?" And I started crying because the answer was, I want for Nathan the same thing I want for his brother and sister. I want him to be happy. I want him to live a life that's meaningful, and I want to be part of it. And I don't think that makes me a super dad. That's my, that's my commitment to my children as a father. And he might be somewhat of a handful sometimes, but having the opportunity to do things with my kids, the other two are gone all the time. And some of them just having one at home. We can go to a show anytime. I don't have to work with his social schedule.
Uh-huh.
And it's just, I think most of us, when we signed up to be a dad, knew that there were going to be challenges, right? I mean, people who have quote unquote perfect kids, they have challenges, and that's part of life. And it's, I think it bothers me because it implies that people don't do what they should as parents often. And if that's the case, that I'm a good parent because I'm not a screw up, because because I don't neglect my kids in terms of any kid, not just Nathan, then I'll take it. But in terms of him, I'm just being a dad.
Yeah, that's a great point. But, I think for their side, it's probably just like, the version of success that they may have for their kids may require them to be, extraordinary success makers. For me personally, I'm just like, if my kids are happy, then I'm a successful dad. And, for Damien, I'm like, he's like one of the happiest people I know. So I'm winning because there's tons of parents who have kids who hate them. So I'm like, well, it's not me. It's not my wife. They love.
I mean, all three of my kids, they're all in their 30s now, and Christmas morning they were all in the PJs around the tree, in the living room, and so I think we did enough right to at least keep me coming back.
No, you're doing. You are an amazing dad. But yeah, I get it because I think
Not
you more. You are. Right? You do have to own it. Well, let's talk about the house situation because I think I just posted a video about our biometric locks and changing up the fridge. I know you guys have some adjustments you've made as well. Can you kind of go through those?
Oh man, it's you just kind of think, all right, safety, and um, personal security and convenience. There are a whole lot of things that you have to do when person who lives in your house has autism, doesn't speak, does things his very own way, to make sure that things stay safe and that they work. About 15 years ago, as we've gotten to the point where Nathan learned how to open every single outside door in the house, we put a security system in. It doesn't connect it. It doesn't go to the cops. It doesn't go to any security company. But any door that opens in the house goes bing, bing. And so if it alerts my wife and I that, all right, where's Nathan? Okay, he's there. All right, so the wind blew that open, or somebody came in, or let's go out and see where he went. And that kind of made sense. A couple other noises here in the house probably make people kind of wonder. Because he has the tendency sometimes to wake up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, go sit in the kitchen and eat cookies, whatever. I've got one of those little door alarms on his door that rings in our bedroom. And when that opens, it goes da 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 da. And so it doesn't matter whether he's in opening or closing or not. It's just that little sound is there. We also have a very loud ding dong attached to the bathroom door that he uses. Simply because there are times when Nathan needs help in the bathroom, as a lot of us know. Um, but also there's times when he leaves the bathroom without all his clothes on. And if there's company around, that's embarrassing to them, I think, more than anything else. For us, it's like, hey, it's just stuff happens. So anyway, so when we hear the ding dong, we rush back to the bedroom, to the bathroom. And the final one is we've got a seizure alarm on his bed. He hasn't had serious seizures in a long time, but there are some risks associated with it. And that one plays the William Tell Overture. And what it does, it's between the mattress and the box spring, and it's a sensor basically that picks up repetitive motions like someone would have when they're having a seizure, like kind of thing. But Nathan has learned how to make it go off. He can take his hand and tap on his mattress quickly enough so it'll go off. There's some other things that he can do. And of course, we go and check on him. And you open the door and you look there, and he's just sitting on his elbow looking at you with a smile. I said, "Did you make the music play?" It's just sort of grin. And he'll do it again and again and again. And so after the first time, we don't feel like we've got to go back there. But and in the middle of the night, that can be a little disconcerting. But the number of sounds around the house, I think, are fairly humorous, particularly for somebody who's never been here before. The cameras, on the other hand, the cameras are useful. We started them. We've been running an in-home ABA, applied behavioral analysis program, to help Nathan learn since shortly after he got the diagnosis. We were one of the first families in Austin actually to run an in-home program. And we started with the cameras just so we could watch his therapists and see what they were doing, because if we wanted to observe when we were in the room, it really disrupted his education. He wasn't paying attention to that. And so we've had cameras around the house for a long time. And there are times when the cameras help us find things that Nathan's put in strange places.
Let's talk about that, because I know, we deal with my son putting his, half full milk cup back in the cupboard, or just like remotes go missing. Like, I think every time we move houses, like, we'll find a stash of remotes somewhere because we've had about it. But I know you've had some issues with glasses, right?
Yeah. Nathan's worn glasses probably for about 20 years now, and he's fine with them. I mean, he wears them, but he's had this habit of just like tossing them here in the house randomly. And he also threw them out of the Jeep, but that's another story altogether. And so he used to have this little box in his room where we were trying to teach him, this is where you put your glasses if you want to take them off. But he preferred to put them in that same trash can where the little yellow toy went. And it was funny. He'd go and working on teaching him, say, "Hey, Nathan, where do your glasses go?" And he'd take them off and put them in a little box. You walk out of the room, and within seconds, you hear the sound of the glasses going right back into the trash can, because that's where they belong. And if that's where they belong, that's okay. But sometimes that was not right. There were, we'd be rummaging through his closet looking for them, looking in trash cans and things all over the place. And there are times we just couldn't find them. And so we went to the video cameras, because our cameras keep basically 24 hours worth of events before they erase. And so, all right, when was the last time the cameras got an image of Nathan somewhere wearing those glasses? All right, well, at 3:07 in the kitchen, he's got them. And then he walks out of the kitchen. So, okay, let's go to the camera in the dining room to see if it traces. Then all the way back to his room. Okay, so he's in his room for 20 minutes, listening to music. He's got his glasses on. He goes out, and then he comes back in without them. So where did he go? Well, there's only a couple places he could have gotten to and back in that period of time. It was either our room or the bathroom. And so underneath the, like you have like a cabinet in the bathroom, right? And there's a space between the cabinet and the floor where it was. And so we've traced them. We've traced them to odd spots on the couches, little corners of various rooms. And I think without the cameras, we'd have invested even more in glasses than we have. But it's just one of them things. But, one time we found his glasses in a bowl of popcorn.
That
He's outside. He tends to toss them. One time we were out grilling hamburgers, and when we came back in with the plate burgers, I noticed his glasses were gone. And when I went back outside, they were melting on the grill. So
That happens. No, that's funny though, because it really highlights the detective work you have to do as a autism parent. Well, because it seems the same all the time until they just change for no reason you could understand.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, like no longer were the glasses in the trash can, right?
Yeah.
Why in the world did they go? And I find things in so many different places, and it's just like, all right, we're missing something. Where is it? There's 3 or 4 places that Nathan tends to put other things. And it's just like, look at the trash cans, you look in the dirty clothes, you look in the cupboard where the cookies are. Those are usually a good place to find things that you had no idea he had, but you can't figure out where they are. Like shoot.
No, yeah, oh, man.
My issue.
That's slightly more frustrating. Like,
and why I don't know that it happens.
Well, with all that, because I know he, has his habits and everything. You did say that he has a job, and that was that sounds amazing to me because I'm, for some reason I've actually read books where the not to say that OCD tendencies, but like the habitual way they do things is actually good for work, and it sounds like he's been successful.
Yeah, it really is a great story, and my wife goes to conferences, parents of kids with people with disabilities. She's spoken at the Texas Autism Conference a couple of times, telling Nathan's story, and I think it really is inspiring, particularly the way she tells it. She's definitely got the gospel of Nathan down. But to me, I'm just so proud of him and so happy for him because, if you saw Nathan right now outside of work, you'd say, there's no way this person holds down a job. And if you saw him at work, you'd say, there's no way this person has, autism and can't get his crap together outside of work. And what's neat about it is the job fits him, and he's so happy when he's happy to work. Let me just give you sort of the thumbnail of what happened. I referenced the school was not good. And so when he was 17, we decided, all right, school's over. That disaster is done. We're not going to let life be a disaster. It's time for him to get a job, just like it was for his older sister and for his younger brother when they turned 17. And so we tried to find some things that would fit his interests and his likes. And we thought, all right, he loved and still does love to ride roller coasters. We thought, a theme park, that'd be great. But the more we thought about it, being in a theme park and not being able to ride the roller coasters probably not be very satisfactory for him. And we found some similar trends with other things. He used to love to swim. Now he's not so much, but again, he loved to be. And we thought swimming pool, no. Whatever job he had, he'd be in the water instead of doing it. Starbucks, he absolutely adored strawberry frappuccino, strawberry and cream frappuccino. And there's things that I think he would have the skills to do to help there. But we were sure he would drink up any profits he made. And so bounced a lot of those ideas around. And as a family, we like to travel. We travel a lot. It's the thing that we binge on more than any. We're not terribly material, but that's the place. If we have extra money, that's what we always spend it on. And we noticed, like when we're at a hotel or something, they can love to push the luggage cart. We thought, maybe you can get a job as a bellboy. And so we did the kind of things that people with autism parents do. We did some training ahead of time. All right. We had him practice pulling a wagon full of heavy things around the house and the driveway. We had him practice putting suitcases. Actually, we'd load them up. Had him practice putting suitcases in that wagon and taking them back out again. So we were ready, right? And so put together a resume and sent it out to all the big hotels in town. And I think a point that my wife likes to make here is that we didn't go to some state agency and say, help us find a job for our kid. We did what we would have done to help our other kids. And the more I've heard about what state agencies, at least at the time, were able to do, I don't think we would have gotten anywhere. So the first call back we got was from Hilton Boston, which is the big Hilton attached to the convention center downtown. And Nathan and his mom and I and the person who'd been his lead ABA therapist at the time went down and met with the director of HR and the house manager at the Hilton. And there was some advantages to the people we met with. The house manager had actually been a job coach for people with autism when he was going to graduate school. And he kind of knew what was available. The HR director is a saint. She's spent years and years trying to make sure that new uh, arrivals in Austin who are refugees have an opportunity to work somewhere. And so she's got people from 30 different countries working there. And Nathan was just another country, just from Autismland, right? And we talked to them, and they said, "Look, we appreciate that you think being a bellboy might be a good job for him, and we're glad that you did the training, but it might not be something that plays to Nathan's strengths." And they didn't say Nathan can't do this. Okay, immediately it's like, They said, it's a very stressful job, and it's not. You take luggage and you take it to the same place, or you do the same thing. People are always in a hurry. They've got something special. They want to do this. They want to do that. It might not be the thing that works for him, but we're going to make this work. We're going to find something that does work to Nathan's strengths. And we're like, these people from Mars, where did they come from? And so over the next 5 to 6 weeks, Nathan and his lead ABA therapist, once a week, they went down and they sampled various jobs around the hotel, housekeeping, maintenance, room service, laundry, all of the kind of things that somebody who can't talk would otherwise, be qualified to do. And then there are a ton of jobs in the kitchen. We all got back together about 2 months later and agreed that there's a position called a steward, which basically is the group of people who are responsible for the thousands of plates and cups and pieces of silverware and cooking utensils, etc., from the moment they get dirty until somebody uses them again as clean. So collect, wash, stack, put away, repeat. And so, as you mentioned, sort of the repetitive nature of the job was something that our job coach, ABA therapist who'd become a job coach, and the people at the hotel realized that that was going to play to Nathan's strengths. And so he went in and started as a dishwasher. Basically, they've got this huge conveyor belt, and they'll have hundreds of plates from the banquets that come out of the convention center. And basically this giant stack of plates or whatever, and they just put them in the conveyor belt, and it goes through and gets washed and dried, and somebody at the other end takes them out and stacks them. And pretty quickly, Nathan picked up on how to flip plates from the stack into the conveyor belt. And he learned pretty quickly that, other kinds of dishes and serving pieces and whatnot. Here's how you put them into the conveyor belt to get them clean. And he loves the job. Our job coach said there's times when he runs in the building. Okay, and he was 17 or 18 at the time. How many 17 or 18-year-olds run to anything that doesn't involve a good time? And he was happy. I mean, when we went and watched him, you see this giant smile on his face. He was very proud of himself, obviously, because he was doing a good job. And he was doing the job that was required of a person in that job. And so this wasn't, it wasn't a charity case. He was making the same wage as anybody else would have. The expectations were the same for him. Now, we did have a job coach there. What does the job coach do? Job coach helps him expand his skills, learn new things to do, helps him stay on task when he has to, we have to get all this stuff done before we do something else. Helps him transition from one task to another. Okay, Nathan, now we're going to take this cart full of dishes up to the cafeteria, and keeps him safe. Working in a very large place with a lot of big machines, there's difficulty, and serves also as sort of the go-between with the management. So after Nathan had been there about a year, we heard about something called the Austin Mayor's Committee for People with Disabilities. And every year they apparently have a celebration of people with disabilities in their employment. And because of the attitude of the Hilton, we thought, we're going to nominate the Hilton as Employer of the Year because they've they've made Nathan part of their family without making it seem different or weird, you know? And it's just like he fits right in. And it's like, and we knew that there were a number of other people with disabilities who worked there. And the ones who could speak told us the same thing. It's like, we're part of this family. So put up this application, and as I was writing it, I needed some data that I had to, number of people worked there. I don't know what it was. So I called down and to the HR office to try to get that information. As soon as they found out that we were nominating them, um, they turned around and nominated Nathan for Employee of the Year after he'd been there a year, right? And I think you probably know where the story's going. So about 6 weeks later, we're all in this big ballroom celebrating the fact that the Hilton is the Employer of the Year, large Employer of the Year, and Nathan is Employee of the Year. And the house manager, the one who had been a job coach as a graduate student, accepted on behalf of the Hilton and also talked a little bit about Nathan. And when Nathan went, all our family was there. He knew something special was happening. He knew that something special was about him. I don't know that he knew anything else. I mean, he doesn't work for the money. He works for the fun of it. But he knew everybody was excited for him. And so he went up with his job coach, and then I went up with him just to make sure he didn't go off or do something really kind of silly. And his job coach was telling his story, about what it's like and how he's learning, how he runs into work and all that stuff. And so at some point, he just got so excited. He came over and he gave me the biggest hug he's ever given me. And in fact, if there's a picture in the Lake Travis view of him hugging me, and it's just amazing because he was so happy. This was wonderful. He was 18 years old. This person who had not made it through the school system at all, and here he's got a job, but he's doing well. He's got an award, and he stayed at the Hilton. He got a 5-year pin. He got a 10-year pin. He won an award from the Texas Society for Independent Living Councils as Consumer of the Year, again because of his ability to work in a typical situation, doing the job with appropriate modifications. That's what a job coach is a modification. We could talk about the ADA if we wanted to, but that's basically what that's all about. And then in December of 2019, we had spent Thanksgiving with our family up in Pennsylvania, and I got a call the day before we were ready to leave and said, "I need to talk to you. You guys will be back on December 29th." And I said, "Yeah, Elias." Then this was the HR director. She said, "Well, we've nominated Nathan for another award, and that's when the awards banquet is." And I'm like, well, what's this all about?" And what they nominated him for was not an award that had anything to do with people with disabilities. There's an organization called the Austin Hotel and Lodging Association, which is basically all the hotels and large lodging operations in town. And every year they have a awards banquet for their own people, And the cool thing is, hotel people know how to throw a party. And they did this one at the Fairmount, by the way, and it's just like, wow, it was great. It was like, $100 steak dinner for free. But they said, we're going to nominate Nathan for a Star of the Industry Award for the category they call Back in the House. I think there were 4 or 5 different categories. There was the management, of course they have to pat themselves on the back. Yeah. And there was sales, the best salesperson, best front of the house people, and those are the ones who interact with the guests and back in the house. And it's like, why are you going to do this? It's because we think Nathan will win. And so we went to the Fairmount, and Nathan was not at all happy in the room with all the noise that was going on, and he kept going in and out. In fact, I got to eat most of his steak too. So we're sitting there, and one of the people we're sitting with was one of the security people at the Hilton. It was just absolutely fantastic. And they nominated her for for the award as well. And we're sitting there, we're watching, and the gentleman who'd been the house manager had gone away and come back, and and is now the general manager to Hilton. And so he was sitting up on the dais with the other bigwigs. He kept looking at us and winking. This is not going to happen, Joe. Don't tell me this. And the last award that they gave that night was for Star of the Industry for Back of the House, Nathan Levine. And um, it was a emotional moment for all of us. Nathan took it in stride. He walked up all by himself to the stage, stood next to his buddy Joe, who he'd known for 12 years, accepted the award, stood there where they took pictures. I mean, this was, my wife said it over and over again, this has nothing to do with disability. This is somebody who's proven that, that, no.
It's why. Lost you for a second. Oh, there it is. There you are.
About that. I hope that doesn't mess up your recording. We can edit. I know that. So what I was saying was this award, I think, is as much as anything else proof that people with significant disabilities have a role in our society. They can participate. They can be, be productive and helpful and do the things that we expect people to do in life. As I mentioned earlier, there are modifications that the Americans with Disabilities Act requires employers to provide that would help an otherwise qualified person perform the job. And in this case, it was a job coach. So that was in December of 2019. We all know what came in March of 2020. And COVID just slammed the hotel industry probably more than any other. So nobody went anywhere. And so particularly a big hotel like the Hilton, I mean, conventions were canceled over and over. I mean, remember South by Southwest got canceled that year. And so, he was immediately furloughed from the Hilton, as almost everybody was. I think at one point, the general manager told me they had 5 people working there. Wow. Because occasionally people would come and stay, and it's just, he had to go away. That year was really bad for him because there was no structure. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't do anything. We had to stop the ABA program. And then after about a year, I said, we can't do this. So we found some other hotels that were actually starting to hire. We worked. And he's done well, and he's still working in a big hotel in downtown Austin. But he's never quite been in a job that offered him the opportunity to be as independent as he was there. So we're still working for it, but we all had good jobs and bad jobs. But it's just, to me, it's a wonderful story about my son because I love him and he's done well. But I know, as my wife says, this can hopefully inspire other people that, their kid can do it too. And if you tell me your kid can't, then I'm going to get in an argument with you.
You know what? You inspired one person at least. Well, it's so funny because, he's only 12. And so we haven't really thought about like the super long term, but we're starting to. And that was actually my question, because I was like, there's just no way that he could work somewhere. Like he just, like,
there's Mark. There's things.
I know. Now I know.
Things to be like that you can find a job around. I think one of the things that bugs me is that there are disability jobs, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna rat on any big employers because I know that they think they are, doing a community service by hiring people with disabilities to do certain things, or they're like people who set up, businesses where people with disabilities can come and work. And I know that gets them out of the house, it gets them a chance to participate, but it doesn't connect with what that individual person wants to do. I don't know that if I told Nathan he had to go and, hold this laundry all day long, it'd be something he'd want to do, because I don't think that that doesn't match up with his strengths. Right? He's not that fine motor stuff is not good. That's just not him. But if this is what you say, this is what people with disabilities do, then that's not good. And it's got to be something that matches both with his strengths and his interests. And I know, you have a job, right? A real job. You like to do it.
This is it, podcasting. You know, it's funny about you saying that, because I'm like, you know what? Technically, that should be everybody's concern. What am I good at? And that's where I want to spend my time, instead of us trying to fit ourselves into little stupid boxes that we hate. So no, I think it just highlights that.
That's to me, that's the hope that I'm thinking we might be able to kindle by telling that story.
I love that.
Our kids can do it. And again, like I said at the very beginning, if you saw Nathan outside of work, you'd say, this is not somebody who's holding down a job, but damn it, he is.
Well, that's super inspirational for me personally. I'm sure a lot of other people, because it's and I love how it's not just charity based. Like, oh yeah, he's
no, it's for work.
It's just a showpiece.
Job. He's earned this job. Okay, he gets paid because he does the job. He wouldn't get paid if he doesn't. So
yeah. No, well, it's fantastic story, and I definitely want to have you back on, because we definitely go into the COVID, go into the ADA or ABA, like there's so many topics that we could discuss, especially with your 35 years experience. You're just not gonna beat that. But thank you so much for coming on, Steve. This has been very inspirational. I love hearing about Nathan. I love all the success he's had. I think that's just anything that any parent can identify with, like going to, an awards ceremony for your kid being awesome at the work that they do. That's the dream, So
we've done that with our own kids too,
That's it is.
Mark, I want to thank you for doing this podcast. As an autism dad, sometimes I've thought I was really kind of wandering this land alone. I mean, I know that's not true, but mothers tend to be the people who connect with each other simply because they tend to be the primary caregivers. And I know that my wife knows a whole lot more people in the land than I do. But thanks for doing this. You're a great dad.
There you go. Wow. Well, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate you being so open and, really sharing the story, because it can be tough sometimes. And I love how just honest you are about it, because it's, you don't want charity. You don't want a gold medal for raising your kid. You just want to do a good job for them, and for them to be happy and successful, which is just a normal thing we all want. So thank you for that.
Normal. Yeah, that's a great word, ain't it?
It is.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, we'll have you back on soon.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much for listening. This has been the Dads and Autism Land podcast. For more content like this, please subscribe.